Beyond the Wild.
Hey, I was thinking about that insurance too,
Yeah.
Jason. That high-end deductible wouldn't even cover what's on your desk.
Oh, whatever. Oh, you cracked me up.
Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast.
I don't know what I'd do without you, buddy.
We've got the crew back again tonight, and we're going to continue to dig in with the list that Mark's been accumulating. So keep that in mind when you hear these answers and he's using big words and things like that. Mark has these questions well ahead of time. Jason and I get them when he asks. How's everybody doing? Jason now knows that I pushed record a little while ago.
Yeah.
And he was looking down.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm okay with what was said.
Yeah, it was pretty tame compared to what you said before that.
Right. I'm doing good. I'm getting ready. I was out. We had a little late start because of me. It was my fault. And I appreciate you guys' patience. I was out loading up four-wheelers because this weekend I'm going to spend some time with my family in Island Park in a cabin. So we rented a cabin and looking forward to go spend some quality time with the grandkids and, have some fun. Maybe try to make it into the park and see if I can find some mountain bison. Appears that they're already kind of starting to fire up there. So
good luck, because the pictures I've seen in the park and the pictures I've seen coming back to West.
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, I don't know that we will because of that.
Wall-to-wall traffic.
Right. Yeah, and we heard, right? We pinged each other about this. I think Yellowstone broke a record last month for the amount of visitors in 1 month. It was almost 1 million, if I remember right.
It's not really, I don't know. I guess it is and it isn't a good record to break.
No, right. Yeah, I agree. It's not a good record.
How about you, Mark? Breaking any records?
Every day, Ron. I just keep them to myself. I have a list. I have a chart on my wall. What record did I break today? PBs all over the place.
Nice.
I have been out playing with some white-tailed deer photography and started that for the summer. And given that little dragonfly doodad that we clipped to the hats that doesn't
the
sponsor,
Wingman.
Yeah. A run, and I because there's so many deer flies right now, they still come in, but I'm finding they don't bite as quickly with it there unless there's safety in numbers. If it seems like if there's like a mad flock of them, then they still get some bites. But I think it does really make a difference.
Okay, how many of those do you have?
One.
Oh,
I have one.
Okay.
My wife Pilly has one, but the one thing that you have to kind of just put it on when you get out of the vehicle and out of the buildings, because otherwise we're not like deer that grow their antlers and know the dimensions of them. The darn thing hits on everything I walk past.
I was just thinking you gotta fight flock for flock.
Oh, I see. That's the strategy.
Yeah.
You're working for them, aren't you? Did you
Not
buy
yet.
shares?
Not yet.
I mean, if Wingman, if you're listening, which I'm sure you are because of our reach on this amazing podcast, but if you are listening, we would love to have a sponsorship conversation.
This is like the 6th or 7th podcast we've had about
We've talked
these
about
things.
it, you know.
Even a seasonal sponsorship. I mean, I just need it for the spring and summer.
Summertime only. Yeah. Yeah, I'm down to give it a try. In Alaska.
If it helps, it helps.
Not real buggy here this year, which is I'm thankful for. No complaints. So
I just spoke to a couple of people that are literally leaving Alaska today, and they said the mosquitoes have been insane. Like they've been crazy.
That's disconcerting.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. So
you guys,
I'm definitely going to bring my flock of wingmen
Right. Yeah, that's going to be great. Make sure you got the brim hat all the way around.
Yeah.
with
I'm gonna order a couple extra just so we can literally load up the hats for a few photos.
Yeah, that's great. That'd be fun.
and the bug net.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here's another one that we should be sponsored on, and I don't know if they're available everywhere, but the it's called the Bug Shirt. They are so good, and they roll up into a fanny pack that just kind of straps onto anything, or it fits into your pack. It's weightless, and that's what we wear in the backcountry in bug season, and it works. The only thing is your hands aren't in it.
Mm.
So look at that. If they are that bad, pick up one of those. They're not cheap for what they are, but they've proven over all the years. We all have one, and they're definitely the go-to from our experience.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I mean,
I can send you
one
a
year
link.
I tried the Promethrin. Did I say that right?
Right.
That stuff's so nasty. Oh my gosh. I don't even know if I should have been wearing, wearing the shirts after I put it on. I hear it's not, once it dries, it's not an issue, but still, that stuff was so strong in that. And I mean, I think it works. It's effective, but do you really want to be wearing that chemical next to your skin and on your body and potentially breathing and all that stuff? I don't know. So, but
Right. Yeah. Look up the Bug Shirt.
I just
I'll
did
send you guys. I'll send you guys.
$100 US.
Mhm.
It looks
Yeah,
like
It's
a lightweight.
tan color. The hood
Yep.
goes over and it zips the net, so you've got the net in face, but because of the brim, it's not on your face. You've got a
Right.
bit of space there, and
Got some
yep.
drawstrings for your hood and other stuff too. And yeah. Yeah. And it's like you said, it's small, packs up small. So you can just
It packs into
roll
its
it up
pouch,
and
flips
right.
into the pouch in front of it, yeah, and zips in.
Some
Yeah.
marsupial shirt.
Very, very, very good. Yes, yeah,
I'm all over that.
that was fast.
Hey, you guys know what I came up with? Marketing idea. We've been getting so many people that are bugging us about getting some swag sold and getting a store going. Not bugging us, but
I was going to
asking.
say, yeah, go. This is a good thing.
So this is a good thing, right? So I came up with a plan. So you know how a t-shirt might be $25, $30 depending on the style of t-shirt that you're getting. But you go to a football stadium and you could buy a jersey for, let's just say, $300, an authentic jersey. However, if it's a game worn jersey, it's $1,000.
Oh boy.
So I got these
Oh,
lightweight t-shirt hoodies,
uh-huh.
and I'm going to wear one per week. And the weeks that I wear the smalls, I'm going to recommend we do no YouTube those weeks.
We'll do extra YouTube those weeks.
So after the episode, Sharpie on the shoulder, say
Yep.
Ron.
We're
Episode
signing
number
it.
57.
If I can get together with these guys, or when we get together in the field, we'll sign a whole bunch of them. And then the game worn. So $50 for a lightweight hoodie. But the game worn lightweight hoodies are going to go for $100. Or the
That's a
cast worn.
I was
That's
sure
a-
you were going to say 250.
It's a screaming deal, really.
And listen, ladies, listen. The ones Ron wears, we're not washing them. So
Yeah.
they might even be worth a little more than the 100.
Keep that in mind.
Keep that in mind.
So
That's a good idea, Ron. I like
Yeah.
it. I'm
No.
not sure we're going to get anybody that wants our sweaty, worn shirts. But
There'll be
I'm
more
not
orders
either.
in the fall and winter than the summer.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not 100% either.
So are you going to get some of those made up to take?
I did.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I got some. Well,
Did you get everybody's
So-
sizes so we can give
In the
everybody
field,
one?
they can ask.
I don't think you just heard what I said.
No, I did, but I didn't. It did not obviously ring
The
correctly.
$50 part. So no, I did not get everybody's sizes to give them one. They're for sale.
Oh, I did hear that part, but I thought maybe since they booked a trip that we
Oh,
might.
yeah. Well, we've got T-shirts for that.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. Perfect.
We've got T-shirts we got to get to Mark because he's got a bunch of customers
Trips.
in the fall.
That's right.
Sure.
So, all right, gents,
Fantastic.
we're off on another adventure. And I know this is going to be later. This is the only time I'm going to mention the date right now because I don't know when this is going to go up. But it is Colin Bigelow, the male salesman from Picture Line.
Oh, you
It was
almost went
close.
there.
It was close. It is Colin's birthday today, July 16th. So again, ladies, keep that in mind next time you see him. Happy birthday, Colin.
we need to
Belated. Very belated.
I think we need to get Colin a shirt made up.
That's true. Colin needs a T-shirt.
Yes, he does. A special one.
Mark, you're writing notes. Should I be
No,
worried?
I'm scanning through the listener questions, and
You're
I
perusing?
keep switching the first one because of the subject that's come up. I found one that pick right up on.
Oh, about the game worn gear?
Kind of.
All right, fire away.
All right. Question number 1 by bmax_wildlife. Camo clothing. Do you use it when you shoot?
What kind of clothing?
Camouflage.
Oh,
Do you wear it in the field? When being a wildlife photographer, just your ghillie suit, right? Nothing else, just the ghillie suit.
I use a ghillie suit a lot. And when I use that, I wear
in town.
muted colors or camo underneath it. But I do use a ghillie suit quite a bit. And yes, sometimes in town. In town, quite honestly, and this
park.
is
bushes
Yeah.
in the park. No,
no,
camera.
but you're.
Be kosher. Sorry.
Can I go now?
Almost.
So yeah, in town primarily it's to make sure people don't see me. The wildlife are comfortable with you. Most of the time you're photographing in a park, something like that, but I don't want people knowing where I'm at and don't want them coming up to ask questions because that kind of defeats the purpose of doing a wildlife shoot. So I do use the ghillie suit in town
There you go.
Nice.
and camo in town.
And camo.
So for me, it's a little more complicated. Everybody that's listened to the show for a while understands my history with the park rangers. So I do wear camo in the field quite often, but it has nothing to do with the animals. I'll just leave it at that.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. No, I'm just kidding. I actually started wearing more solids. I do have some camo, and I wear it from time to time, depending on the circumstances. But I've really kind of leaned more towards the solids lately, and I find them just as effective for what we're doing. And there's lots of options out there for good quality clothing that, it used to kind of be you either spent a lot of money on like mountaineering clothing and stuff, and then the hunting clothing got to be really good too. And if you do both or use camouflage for other reasons when you're not photographing in a park or something, then it just made sense. You have clothing that's very functional and serves a purpose in lots of different environments. But now a lot of those companies offer solids as well. And those solids, I actually have started preferring those. So the answer is yes, it depends.
Right.
Mark's camo is beach camo
Today.
Yes.
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
Summer.
I'm a little disappointed that he had a completely different outfit on when I put my head down. When I put my head up, it was completely
Just like
different.
that. Snap the fingers.
It was his suit, his birthday suit.
No. The leather was just for you guys.
Well, now I feel
Now people are really wondering what's going on.
I was wearing my motorcycle jacket. when we got on. Sometimes I used to do this a lot more, and I want to have more fun at times. And I used to start the show, I'd have a different funny hat on or something from a makeup box of clothing we had for the kids growing up. So
Oh, I thought
today,
you said it was a dress-up box.
that's what a dress up box. Same thing.
You
Make up
call it
your
whatever you
clothes,
want, Mark. You call it whatever you want.
dress up box from the kids. But so today, I just put on my motorcycle helmet and gloves and jacket, and there I was, incognito.
And then he
But
took the jacket off and his buttons popped on the shirt, and that's when.
oh, I didn't flex. No.
I didn't flex.
Guys are giving me a hard time today. I'm trying to get through it. It's
All
summer.
right, sorry.
Too hot. So I've got the palm tree shirt on, and I've got my Charleston hat on from the Isle of Palms, and thinking beach because we do have a beach actually about 20 minutes from us, so I can't complain. But I haven't been this week, and I should have. It's hot. So to Brian's question about the camo, the only time I really use it now is a camo blind. If there's an animal situation where I've set up a blind in a location, then I'm in camouflage that way. I do have camo clothing for sure, and I do wear it, but it's not what I go to. It's more the muted colors like the guys were referring to, and it's not just for the wildlife. It's just, again, not wanting to stand out on the landscape. And the animals, almost all the animals I photograph, unless it's something skittish like some white-tailed deer situations, I might be in a blind, but more often they're used to people, and I'm wanting to be seen by the animals versus surprise them. And especially if, in park situations and stuff like that. So just muted clothes. Bright clothes is something we discourage our guests to wear, just because for a lot of species, like something that's white or very bright might create an alarm by animals. And the same on occasion with black. If black bears, if it's caribou, if black bears are predators of the caribou, then it's something that we rather have muted colors. But again, black usually isn't a game changer, but whites or something like that we avoid. But yeah, muted colors are fine, and that's usually my go-to for wildlife.
The other thing that I've found is, well, two things. So when you're photographing in a group environment, so let's just say you're going as a participant on a workshop, having bright colors on, and you just happen to get a corner of it in somebody else's shot. It's honestly, if you can wear a more muted color, doesn't necessarily have to blend, but it certainly doesn't stick out. And that's helpful to other participants, because inevitably you're going to get in each other's way on occasion, and whether it's intentional or unintentional. And then the other thing with those muted colors is I find myself doing some photographer gymnastics on the ground, and you try to find a foreground element, maybe to blur the foreground, give yourself a little bit of depth of field, or the perception of depth in your image. And you wear those muted colors, you could actually use your leg. If there's nothing available, use your leg, use your shoe. It's going to be out of focus, but you're not drawing attention to the actual color or pattern on your clothing. You're just isolating your subject. And I've done that several times here lately where I didn't really have anything else. There's nothing that I could put between me and the subject, so I used a shoe or my leg.
Wow.
I'd like to see that. You must be pretty flexible.
Yeah.
Not at all. But I can get the camera in some unique spots.
That's a good point. That's a good tip.
Ron comes up with great ideas all the time.
I mean, like the game worn stuff. Might even start selling, hey, this ghillie suit has been in the field with me since X amount of years. And of course, the price is going to go up for something like that.
Would you sell like the framed print of the sage grouse that was taken while you were wearing that ghillie suit with
Absolutely.
it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd sign it, whatever. Can't really sign a ghillie suit.
Well, the print though.
It
So
might be.
you'd have to sign the print. Yeah.
I swear I signed it. Good luck finding where I signed it.
That's a good one. All right. Thank you, Brian, for the question. Next question is by Mitch DeCock. He sent in quite a few good questions. So here's another one. We had one on a previous show. Do you think the effort involved in capturing a photo is relevant to viewers?
So it's funny. I have a different take on this. I don't think most of the time it matters. However, I think there are cases where people will buy a print because of the story behind it. And I've seen that before. Now, if it's, the generic elk bugling photo in a park, that 100 other photographers had, yeah, that nobody cares. But if there is a very, it's a really nice image and there is some kind of a story with some meaning behind it, I know for a fact I've heard lots of photographers talk about when they go to like an art festival or something, and they have those prints for sale, and they tell those stories, it sells those prints. So I think it depends. I mean, that's here we go. There's the mantra for the evening, but I think sometimes it does matter, but most of the time, I think it's rare that it matters. Most of the time, I don't think people care, and that's why we've talked about it before. Why sometimes the images have more meaning to us than they do anybody else, because we have that story. Everybody else doesn't. But anyways,
Yeah, I guess my first thought was we try to take images that tell a story, right? And so, but I can't disagree with you, Jason, that, when you are visiting with people and there's a good story behind the image, I do think that that's advantageous.
yeah,
Um, but I think if you take a good image, the stories that somebody makes in their head or conjures in their head sometimes is better than reality, and I don't think they mind that necessarily if it was an easy image to get, but they're still drawn to it. So I
right,
guess it's not really a negative, but it certainly can be a positive.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I agree with you guys. I think generally speaking, it doesn't because people can't tell whether that mountain goat or bighorn ram or moose was roadside or way out in the backcountry based on the image. But if the story's there, then 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 I think that adds to it. And on social media, the opportunity is to tell the story as far as the caption.
Hmm.
If there's something more to it that will create more allure to the image and how it was taken for the people reading and viewing it to appreciate, then I think it would have more impact. But it's all about the quality of image and composition, and I think that maybe why environmental portraits have such appeal right now too is it makes it seem like a bigger effort because the landscape is so vast. I mean, it looks a better sense of wilderness and wild in an
Hmm.
environmental landscape. So that sometimes can relay effort, whether it's factual or not, too. But yeah, I think that was the best perspective, Jason, is that if you're selling prints and you select images that have a good story, and I mean, I haven't dabbled a lot in this or at shows, but that's where it would take place. And I think those that do it would print the story and have it go with the image, even on the back of
Hmm.
the frame,
right,
because I think that would carry weight for the person buying it too. Is not only do they hear it, but they have a copy of the story on the back and the signature and where and how this image was taken, and maybe something unique that occurred or interesting, not even unique, but around the experience.
It matters to me. And when I'm looking at an image and it conjures up the emotion of the moment, the effort, the everything that was involved in getting the shot, that makes me see the image differently and with a lot more accepting eyes. It might not be as strong an image as others you have, but those are the ones that we hang on to just because of what it brings back every time you view it. So to me, it does, but it's not going to translate to everyone the same way. But
Yeah.
go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just going to add that I think one of the examples I was thinking of was actually when Danny was on. He was talking about the bobcat images on the carcass, and they had two different images, one coming up and then the one, posing. And the gentleman that wanted to buy both went home and told his wife, and his wife was like, why didn't you buy both of those images? That story's great, right? So that literally is a great example of something like that people they make that relation to it. Now they want that image to remind them of that story for whatever reason, right? So anyways, I think that's what was making me think of it.
So that inspires a good idea too. If you're selling prints, and especially at a trade show or something, and if there's a sequence, whether you put it in one frame together that tells a story, or you have 1, 2, 3 framed images that tell that story in entirety, might increase the sale, right? Too.
Yeah.
As far as, if you can sell 3 prints instead of 1, they might just pick their favorite, or they have the option of the entire story for their wall. It might be a good opportunity to expand the sale. All right, next question is from Dane Madsen.wildlife on Instagram. Dane's question is, traveling where humidity is 75% or more, the best way to store and keep gear safe in high humidity. So given your trip last year, Ron.
Yeah. It's real, and it doesn't matter. So 2 things I would say, Dane, whether it is high humidity or whether there's big temperature variance. Um, you know, we'll go to Brazil first, and you've got the humidity that you're dealing with. There's a lot of things that I don't do. I don't change lenses at all down there. Take 2 bodies for a reason. Keep your wide angle on one, keep your zoom on one, or your prime, whatever it is. But I try not to change lenses, especially when I'm outside, because I don't want to introduce moisture. Those are the environments where if you introduce moisture, you're going to end up with mold inside the camera or, on the lens elements. The other time where you have to worry about that is coming in from a cold environment straight into a warm cabin or a warm house or a warm hotel room if you're on the road. You're going to have condensation, so you do have to protect it. I protect in the humid environments. I protect it from rain and that kind of thing, because it can be. I can't explain the difference between a rainstorm in Wyoming, except the one we got last night, and a rainstorm in Brazil. It's just that much more water, and then you've got the humidity after the storm that continues to collect, because you have changes in temperature even. So yes, there is some protection that takes place, but the biggest thing that I do is just don't open that camera body up to allow that humidity to condensate on any element. That being said, we talked about coming in from the cold into a warm air environment. Think about how hot those sensors are getting now. And when we were down there, I was getting a overheating warning almost constantly. I kept having to switch cameras back and forth and shut one down completely and shoot the other one because it was 100 degrees, and then you have the heat being produced. So if you open that body up, even the difference in temperature in 140 degrees or whatever the sensor is going to collect moisture potentially as well. So just keep it closed.
I can't really add. You've had by far the most experience, I think, in the high humidity. So,
what did you guys do in Costa Rica, Jason?
We did take our gear in with us because of the circumstances. It's probably not a good idea to leave it outside in that environment for other reasons, right? But it really wasn't an issue when we were in Costa Rica. We had a varying degree of humidity, and it was nowhere near what I'm expecting that we will see when we are in Brazil in September. But I've shot in high humidity before in Texas, for example, and anytime I can, I try to leave my gear in the environment that I'm going to be shooting in, not like, you know what I mean, like in the car,
Mm.
so it's protected, but in the heat that it will see and the humidity that it will see. And I definitely try not to. I think I actually screwed up my R5 when I was in Bora Bora, because I did walk outside at one point and then saw that crazy rainbow and changed the lens outside. And I turned my camera on too before the humidity could have a chance to adjust. And I think
Mm.
that's another tip is when you go outside, if you're coming from a cold environment, an air conditioned room into a hot, humid environment, do not turn
Mm.
your camera on right away. Give it a good half hour or whatever for the lens to clear, for the sensor to clear the humidity and it to adjust, and then turn it on. Because I think I literally caused some issues on my sensor from doing that. So sometimes you learn the hard way, and I don't shoot a lot in those kind of environments, so it's a learning curve for sure. But that's the thing. You've said everything, and then I would just back up what you said and maybe add that just one or two things. So
Well, the one thing that I was going to say is we all. I mean, it doesn't take very long to get used to with these mirrorless cameras. Is operating without using your camera's meter, because you can adjust your exposure based on what you're seeing in the viewfinder. You get into those humid environments, you're going to be fogged up, and
mm-hmm.
even if it's just the back element of the viewfinder. So if you're not able to use the meter, you're going to be out of commission until it does clear. As Jason just pointed out. So I would say, maintain that practice. Use the camera's meter, especially if you're shooting in those high variant environments.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I'm stressing this again because I want to be clear. In this example I had, I walked outside from a cold room into the humidity, and I took the lens off I turned it on, took the lens off, and I wasn't wide enough, and I was fogged up right off the bat. And so,
Mm.
being dumb, I turned my camera off, walked back inside, changed my lens, went back outside, flipped it right back on, and I had it on while I was waiting for the fogginess to dissipate. And I think that's what did it. So literally, just like give it time to, what's the word I'm looking for? Reach
Equalize,
an
yeah.
equilibrium, yeah, equalize before you start flipping on the electronics. I mean, I think if I would have been patient, I may have missed the rainbow, but I probably wouldn't have screwed up my sensor. So it's a trade off.
In those environments, whether it's high humidity, high heat, anytime there's a huge temperature fluctuation from indoors or out, I mean, I always have a pack that's in the same environment as the camera. So let's say I was going to photograph a bird in the yard in the wintertime and I walk outside with a camera and it's minus 20. I can't walk back into the house with it. So I'll take a bag with me, yeah, and always have it so it is the same temperature inside the bag and zip it up and to acclimatize to either of those hot or cold situations. The other thing too is if it's on a trip, for instance, and you want to download images that day or right away, then to pull the memory card, or if you're going to charge your batteries, pull the battery and memory card before you put it back into the backpack or camera bag to acclimatize, so you have access to those when you go back in, because that's not required. But the camera and lenses themselves, I always have a pack with me that I can zip up and seal, and then it'll adjust slowly over time in that.
Yep, good point.
So I just quickly on the first three questions today, Dane Madsen Wildlife, all three are great photographers and worth checking out their Instagrams. Dane is an Army vet in Montana and has some great wildlife, everything from grizzly bears to bighorn sheep, some great vista with wolf in Yellowstone, some great images there. Mitch is in British Columbia and has a wonderful variety of mountain wildlife from British Columbia. And Brian is a wildlife conservation biologist and has some really interesting images on his Instagram about the work that he does in the American Southwest. So the next question is A Gallant Photo, all one word, on Instagram. Time in the field is greater than everything. What to do if time in the field is limited to be effective?
Pay somebody that does spend time in the field to take you would be my first comment. don't discount experience, and whether it's your own or someone else's, I don't think you can discount that at all.
That's a good
Yeah,
answer.
it won't always be effective, right? That's why we all love wildlife and nature photography. There are trips that aren't any number of variables. Gear can shut down, the vehicle can break down, the weather can be inclement, the animals aren't there. We've had situations in Alaska with incredible fall color, and then like 4 inches of snow on top of the color, this red peeking through the snow, and it's just blissful. It's like, oh, this is just what photographers dream. It's like walking in heaven as a wildlife photographer. All the animals bed down for like the next 2 days, and if we're lucky, we find one. It was a cow moose, but not the big bulls. Or that could change, right? Next trip, maybe that situation comes up, and there is a lucky encounter with an animal. But yeah, not every trip turns out. So I think persistence is part of it, and also enjoying being there. It's out of our office, it's out of our regular routine. It's still a magical, wondrous wilderness place, and even if our objective isn't fulfilled for the animals we hope to see, I'm hoping that all of you get something very favorable out of being on these trips.
You were talking about out of the office, out of
Of the routine.
out of
Yeah.
the routine, but also, yeah, it's good to keep in mind that there's so much that's out of our control when we are out there. It's luck of the draw. So yeah, being out there is important. If you can't be out there, the other thing that I would say is choose the times that you can wisely. Choose them for those high intense behavior type seasons that have a higher likelihood of producing good opportunity.
Alexander's page on Instagram, he's got quite a variety. He's got some African wildlife and birds, castles, Ireland castles. That's cool. Someday, Ron, gotta go. We gotta go
Got to
see the
get
history.
there. I got to
The
go
Emerald
back. Go back as an adult. I saw it. If you would have had your wingman on, that thing wouldn't have come and got you.
Isle. It was a moth. It was a
Oh,
moth
okay.
I was reaching for.
Jason, did you have anything on that one?
I don't think so. I think you guys covered it. I mean, unfortunately, that statement is true. I truly believe that, but there are effective ways to try to shortcut it for sure. So the other thing I'd say is if your time in the field's limited and you're going someplace you don't know, you can't afford to pay somebody, do as much e-scouting as you can. Try to plan ahead accordingly and make sure you can try to maximize your time. Reach out to other photographers that might be willing to help. If you've built a relationship with other photographers that might be willing to share information, that can help a lot too. So I'll just add that. But I mean, that's a tough one because we've all said, right, if you can afford to be in the field for 10 days on a trip versus 2 or 3, you're going to have a much more likely chance of getting that unique, cool, portfolio building shot. But it can also happen in the first 2 or 3 days you're there. So just never know.
If you have Lucky Luke with you.
Yeah. Or
first
Ron
24 hours. Yeah. Without Lucky Luke, it can be on day 7, but it still can be all right. I mean, at the end.
Yeah, for sure.
What did you say, Jason?
I said, or Ron Hayes.
Yeah, all right.
You know why that is? Why Jason can say that is because if Ron's with him and we even split up a little bit, Jason gets a great shot because Ron was over here and all the luck went the other direction.
Oh, you're full of it.
I can't wait to hear the stories from your upcoming trip.
It should be pretty good.
And then Jason threw Ron in the river.
What hiking sticks wrong? No, Scott. Ron doesn't get a meal. He's on a diet.
Yeah, that's probably true.
All right, here's another from Mitch DeCock on Instagram.
Good grief, Mitch. Talk about capitalizing the show. No,
Well, he came up with good questions. So, and a variety of subjects too. So, to those listeners out there that want to have their Instagram page mentioned on the show, yeah, something out of left field or a variety is cool. So, yeah, Mitch, this is an interesting one. Getting a nose in focus versus blurring the background. What's more important? You can do both, right? I mean, on a 2.8 lens or even an f4, a big prime, you can get the nose in focus. But here's an interesting story.
That depends.
That depends. Okay,
Go
go
ahead and
for
tell
it.
your story. No, go ahead and tell your story, Mark, and I'll.
Well, when I first started working with my stock agent, probably 20 years ago, there were some images where the animals, and again, it varied on the subject and composition, where the animal's nose wasn't in focus. The eyes always are. That's target number one, most important, right? Catch light, and the eyes are sharp. But then you choose your depth of field of how much do you want? Is it a big animal like a moose? Do you want all of the antlers and that long nose in focus? Then, you're not likely shooting at 2.8 and to accommodate that. So it wasn't an animal like a moose that had the nose out of focus, but if it was like a wolf, but the eye was sharp, they mentioned that to me in the beginning. That was something they paid attention to. I found that interesting and, learned from it. But publishing, it didn't seem to matter. That an image published, if it was a captivating image, obviously its sharpness is critical, but it's sharp on the eye first. And if the image relays a behavior or is a great scene, great light, great color composition, that's the appeal. If you have the nose in focus, that's good, right? I mean, there's no reason not to, unless you're doing something just on that part of the animal's head, super shallow, tight shot with a shallow depth of field, like focusing on eye for the purpose of telling the story of that species' eye. But the nose is good to have in focus. So it's something to keep in mind. But the depth of field, I don't focus on the nose and go back. I focus on the eye and increase the depth of field, knowing it will accommodate the nose and for me, moose antlers or caribou antlers in the back. But again, the blurring of the background has tremendous artistic appeal. And if you can prevent a busy background, that adds appeal for publishing. But again, it's more the story the image is telling. I think that's important for publishing. And you can get that blurry background, again, with a sharp nose, and it all depends on how far the background is or what lens you're using, as far as one that can do a shallow depth of field.
Yeah, I was just gonna. The depends part of that is, if y'all remember, it was so long ago when we're shooting with DSLRs, and you literally had to go through the process of calibrating your focus with lenses in a lot of cases. And the nice thing about that is you had the ability to shift how far forward or back the actual focus point was. And that was a trick that Harlan Cooper taught me, is that when he was shooting elk and stuff, he would adjust that and move it forward some so that he could make sure that he got the nose and all the antlers in focus without having to crank his aperture up as much. So that was a nice little trick that we lost with mirrorless. You no longer have that ability to move that focal point. So just a little side note, nor do we want to really necessarily, right? But I could see scenarios where that could still be a powerful tool to have. But yeah, I mean, for most of the time for me, and I think this is where it's important, depending on what effect you want, I would agree. I think eyes being in focus and the nose in focus to me is more important than the background being blurry, to answer this specific question. But I think in order to capture either effect you want, you definitely need to do some work with your lens and your camera and photo pills and understand your depth of field at different distances with different critters. And what I've found is through Kelly's work too, and myself doing some trials, that with my 600 or my 400, as long as the animal's full frame, full body, I generally can get the entire animal in focus at that distance. So I've been able to now kind of just cheat and shoot, wide open, and say if I'm on 400-2.8, I can shoot that thing and get the whole animal in focus up to the point where the entire animal is filling the frame. As soon as that animal starts to get closer than that, then I have to start cranking on my aperture if I want to make sure everything's in focus. So just little tricks like that can help you when you're in the field and in the moment. Especially in the heat of the moment when an animal's really starting to move in on you. You've got to be able to adjust on the fly pretty quickly if you want to make sure that you're capturing all those elements. So anyways, that was the only thing I was going to add, and where I was saying it depends again.
And then, there's multiple subjects. That was a pretty specific scenario. And as Mark talked about earlier, I mean, the portraits that sell most for me are the environmental portraits. And you don't necessarily want your background gone because people want to see it to a degree. You might, shift focus to make sure that your subject is the first thing that catches the viewer's eye, but you don't necessarily want all of the elements of the background to be gone. So that's another thing to keep in mind, and obviously that helps you to keep everything in focus, on the subject itself. But a lot of different ways to come at that question. It's a good question. I mean, if you're doing an up close portrait, you've got to find the balance and try to keep everything on your subject's face in focus.
Yeah, I think if you're doing a up close portrait, you're going to have a hell of a hard time not blurring out the background.
Oh, for sure.
Regardless.
Yeah, as far as background, but I'm talking about the subject in that case. But
gotcha. Yeah.
Cool. All right, next question is from Brant Bennett, 1_foot_shorter. A non-camera item you always take into the elk woods.
Specifically elk. Okay.
Yeah. Bear spray. There, I got that out of the way.
Nice, good answer, Mark.
Well, I could get it. Yeah. Well, everywhere I photograph elk, there are grizzlies. So
and there's mean elk. So
well, yeah, I wouldn't. I'm not sure if I'd ever spray an elk, but
I would in a heartbeat if they were charging me. I would not even hesitate. I don't know if it'd work, but I'd try.
I've heard a couple of stories in the elk woods of grizzly encounters over decades that were enough to have it always on me.
So does that non-camera item, does that also exclude fluid head or monopod?
Yeah,
we're talking something else that might help you.
Yeah. What were you looking up at the top for? Were you trying to think of something?
I was
he
trying
was
to think
accessing his real memory.
That's right. Up to the left, I'm accessing that memory bank.
That's good.
It was way up and way left, though.
Oh, way up and way down. I was digging.
I was seeing what Mark was looking at.
Yeah. I need to keep my head down. Those nose hairs are getting...
I always also make sure I have water and power bars, because a hike with elk might seem like it's 100 yards and then ends up being 5 hours.
Sure.
After a recent epic fails podcast, dude wipes.
That was a good one. Nice, Ron. Yeah. Touche, buddy. Boy, I'm having a hard time coming up with anything.
Raincoat.
I mean, yeah, you could do that. You do all that.
Didn't we have a video last year with you in elk country?
Yes, we did for sure.
Yeah.
But
so we had the video of Jason.
Yeah.
Right. Jason even telling people, make sure you take your rain gear with you.
Not just in the car, but up the mountain.
When you're in the high country, because things can change quickly.
Oh,
and then we had another video of Ron reiterating what Jason said, but also stating that it's not just any coat, but a raincoat, not the one that absorbs the most rain,
right?
But the one that repels it. Because I wore an ultralight kind of quasi down type jacket and got completely soaked. And I cooked my sensor that day too. But yeah, raincoat is a good idea.
And an extra wool shirt underlayer. I always have one of those in my pack because if it's
Or
5 hours,
dry one. Yeah.
dry one. That's right. If I've sweat a lot, then I can change out and have dry for the hike out versus perspiration because there's no weight to it. Folds up. Puts in
You
my
take a
camera.
lot of stuff, Mark.
There's no weight. You know. Then what about a whistle? If the elk go out of bounds and get out of control, back in frame, everybody, right?
It's illegal
No,
harassing wildlife.
that doesn't work. I was
If
just
you're
having a
if you're
soccer coach analogy there, but all right.
if you're out of a park, it is legal to call animals.
Hmm.
And there may be, in some people's mind, there may be an ethical issue with this, but an elk call can be helpful if you're not in a park. It is
Mhm.
illegal in a park to call animals at all. But
Depends on
outside of
which
the
park.
park, oh,
That's
okay,
in
interesting.
Canada. It's variable. It's very interesting.
It's
As far
variable,
as
really.
yeah. Well, in Algonquin, they do a. It's been going for decades, and it's like every Thursday night when they have a wolf pack rendezvous site in the summer within hearing distance of the highway, they'll go out and do a howl, and it's a big interpretive thing where hundreds of vehicles and people come out to hear the wolves, and they call and howl for them. When I've been on photo assignments in different national parks in the country, there's definitely in the West 100% taboo. You would be fined, and it's a big no-no. In the East, when I was doing the moose book, I went to a couple of regions to include subspecies and representatives for those parts of North America. And first thing I did was go to the park office and introduce myself to the biologist and just say, I'm going to be here for a week and photographing. And do you have any advice where I could go look? And in two of the national parks, the first question was, do you know how to call the moose? And if you do, you should go to this bog in this place. And again, I can't speak for all of the places in the East, but it's a totally different mentality in different regions and what's accepted. And again, these are really wild areas in a sense. It's not like Yellowstone that's going to have that high number of people that when somebody sees something do, it's going to copy and go on and on and on. It wasn't situations like that, but it is quite variable in Canada. But yeah, in the Rocky Mountains, calling is prohibited, and but it's something to be aware of on either side of that.
That's all I could come up with. Sorry. That was a good question. Stump me.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Mark,
Because you should always there's other things you should take with you on hikes. But yes,
Did you see Mark look up into the
you
left?
you were just looking up and to the left.
yeah, I don't want to bring attention to that. I've noticed over the years on the podcast, I do a lot of up and left thinking while I'm talking on the podcast.
Right.
I'm sitting around the campfire. I don't think I do that. But what I have to look at when I'm thinking about all you wonderful listeners out there is this little tiny green dot on the center of my Mac monitor, which is fine. It's hard to see you all in there. And so it's kind of not something that I'm used to staring at. I'm used to looking at you guys on the screen. But then when I start thinking, I've noticed I do that all the time. and more often to the left than to the right. But hey, who knows?
Depends on what side of your brain you're accessing.
There you go. We'll get into that.
Yeah, there's a whole science behind it, right?
Kinesthetic
doubt.
interviewing, yeah.
So this side, so it's not memory right now. What would I be accessing up to the right?
Imagination.
Yeah.
I need to do that more.
Up and to the right means you're full of it.
You're looking for a way to lie.
Well, thanks, Brant. That was a fun little spin one. And on Brant's Instagram, Brant's a pilot, an amputee, a veteran, and he has some wonderful images from the Tetons and Idaho.
Repeat his name again now that you've said all that, because that name will make more sense. Yeah, no, his photography handle.
1_foot_shorter.
Right. Now you understand where the name comes from.
That's funny.
Yeah. I've DM'd with Brant quite a bit. He seems like a really nice guy. I'd love to meet him in the field sometime.
All right. What do you guys think? Are we doing another one?
One more.
More, yeah.
Okay.
And I love Mitch's questions, but
I'm not allowed another Mitch.
I mean, we can. I just nothing against him at all. I appreciate them all. They're great questions. But
Okay, we can do another Alexander. He'd sent in two. This one is like honestly, it feels like it's a changing landscape. And it is because the business changes and the technology changes. But even recently, it's starting to feel like it's shifting again. And Alexander, a gallant photo, his question is, how can a beginner / enthusiast turn their passion into a business? What would you do if starting new? And I'll answer first because I've had the question in front of me. To be fair to you guys, is it's always changing, and it's to generate revenue at photography. Honestly, the first thing I'd say to somebody starting out new is enjoy it, right? First and foremost, don't put the pressure on making money if that's not necessary, because that has a potential to take away from the enjoyment of just being out there. And, if somebody hones their craft and has the caliber of images, which is more and more often with mirrorless cameras, what people are able to capture due to the autofocus technology and the accuracy of exposure, and then also the post-processing multitude of tools out there. A lot of people, so many, a high percentage of people are creating artwork, images that are publishable and wonderful. More, a higher percentage than ever with this equipment, which makes it harder to create revenue because there are people all over the landscape. They're giving it away. That's become more and more prevalent, to see their name in something or to win something. A lot more people give it away because they don't need the revenue. They may have a great career and this is their passion, their hobby. This is what fills their soul and is a pastime. But but when it comes to somebody who really, really was important to sell, it's a tough time. And I've been changing even my stock photography world. This year has changed. I've noticed even had another magazine email this week that they're no longer printing. And, thank you for all the years of subscribing and contributing, etc. Because people aren't buying magazines. And if people don't buy magazines, then the advertisers don't spend the money to put ads in magazines, which is what paid a significant part of the publications. And that also affects the art budgets over years too. So a lot of art budgets became much smaller or vanished. And by art, I mean the photography that they're paying for. So there's been other ways to try to compensate. And so it's hard to find money in when it's rarer and rarer. Publishing is a small part of the profession of photography, though. It's a very important one, and it's the one I've always worked in and been extremely passionate about and grateful for. And I'm glad there's still some of it going on. But there are all kinds of other ways people make prints and sell tours. My head spins at how many people I see out there offering tours now. And I know tourism, as we talked about with the number of people visiting the biggest national parks, it's exploding in interest, and so is photography, because the tools of the camera and lenses give a lot of these people, those that crave a purpose and not just go there to be there, crave a purpose. It gives them a purpose for those that pick that up. And by doing a tour, they can hone their purpose and they can learn. And I recommend tours to especially new people or people who aren't extremely knowledgeable about a species. It's the best way to learn is from somebody who knows animal behavior, not just for the benefit of photo results, but learning about amazing animals that are encountered. But at the same time, when I see all the tours, it can make one's head spin with what's going on. So there's that possibility, but it would be from somebody, like if somebody wasn't a professional photographer, how would they start a tour? Right? I mean, they're not teaching, they don't have the years of photography experience or animal behavior. Maybe they were a park ranger and know that park like the back of their hand after 15 years of working there. And maybe their photography isn't the first part of what they're offering in the tour, is more of just experiencing the park, and the photography is secondary. I mean, there are other ways to do it, other places people can come from, not just professional photographers. But there are so many that is like, how is this happening? Maybe it won't. Maybe they're trying, right? And I'm about finished, guys. But it is a challenging time to generate revenue as a photographer. I'm able to do it through publishing because I've been in publishing for decades. A lot of the relationships I've had for all these years, and they've become smaller with scope and what they're able to offer for new photographers. That being said, I don't want to be a wet blanket on it. There are opportunities. And, when I went in my first week at university in wildlife biology, we were all sitting in this big hall, and the dean came out and said, for those of you in wildlife biology, 1% of you will get a job in your field. And it's like, oh, don't, punch to the gut. Don't say that. But it's like, you know what? I worked hard to get into this program, and I'm not going to walk away from it if it's my dream, right? We have this life. So with common sense in mind, not to risk any elements, but to pursue your dream. But it's generating revenue is possible. But not only does somebody need a great portfolio, they need luck too, right? Right place, right time, right contact to make it work. And maybe there's ways to do it, part-time that supplements some of the trips or camera gear costs and stuff too. It doesn't have to be an all-in.
I remember going to, obviously you've had a couple weeks to think about your answer there, Mark.
I have not that long, but it's a tough question. I almost don't like airing these ones because it's such a challenging time. Back in the day, 20 years ago, was you build the portfolio, you knock on the doors. There was a flow chart to the possibility of success if the work was good enough. That was the biggest game changer. Is the work good enough? Now, so many people have the work that's good enough. 1,000 people compared to, 20 in my field before.
Going back to a statement that you just made. So I remember going to take the game warden's exam a long time ago. We'll just say that. And you walk in and there's 250 people in the room, in the auditorium. And Harry Harhue, who was lead biologist for the state of Wyoming, walked down in front of everyone and he said, there's 250 of you here. And you're competing to get on a list for 0 jobs. And the insane thing to me now is there's so many more people that are out pursuing wildlife photography, but they cannot get people to take the game warden's exam. Can't find people that are willing to do it. And it's the best job in the world because you're outside all the time. Kind of echoing a couple of the statements that you made, because you made them all. But I think that I would recommend, just thinking about everything that you said, I would recommend not going into any of it with the expectation of making any money. If it's not your passion, just don't do it, because the chances of making a living at it are nil. And then going back to kind of follow up on your statement about workshops. There's literally people out there leading workshops that have been photographing wildlife for less than a year to 2 years. And I can assure you, having spent over 20 years now pursuing excellence in this area, they don't know what they're talking about. And that's just a hard truth.
Right. It's not a dig, right?
It's
just
not a dig. You just can't know
right.
because you haven't had enough experience yet in the field. And so I think that, that's another potential revenue stream. But at the same time, are you ripping people off by getting them to pay for your trip by naming yourself a workshop leader? I would say, don't have the expectation of earning any money from it. However, put yourselves in the position where you can. And, the little, honestly, probably where a person can make the best sales is in those kind of park community type areas, and just get down there on the little fairs and print off 150 8x10s of different images and just sell 8x10s. You sell them cheaper, but you sell more of them. So you go for kind of the volume type work. But people's willingness to put in the time, put in the effort to create that large portfolio. And they used to require, if you don't have 5,000 printable images, we're not ready to talk to you yet. And they don't anymore, because they're looking for the image that's going to sell the magazine, or the image that's going to sell the story. So they don't really care as much about the portfolio or the depth of the portfolio as they do about just that one image that's going to keep them printing for another month, because they are all fighting for their lives. All the periodicals. So yeah, that would be my add-on. Don't have any expectations, and don't pressure yourself to make money at it. Just go out and enjoy it.
That's good advice, Ron. Good add. I would just maybe not even add to that, but clarify a little bit too, is from the other perspective of having those experiences and going and having those trips, don't sell yourself short. I mean, you can find cheap options for trips because of the fact that you have folks that are out there leading tours and stuff that don't have experience. Mm-hmm. And if you want to have a good trip, you're probably going to pay a little bit more money, but I can almost guarantee you it will be worth the difference in the experience that you'll have. So I think that's something to keep in mind when you're trying to look for options for tours for yourself and trips that you want to go on. It's crazy now too. The other thing I will say is I think the depth of your portfolio does matter if you want to stay on the radar of a specific periodical or editor. They might find you and find a random photo and you might get published, but if they might keep you on the radar and come back to you for something else. But as soon as you say, no, I don't have it, you probably just made it off the list. Unless you happen to come across something else you're able to get in front of them and they like it. But to your point, Ron, I don't disagree at all. It does, everybody can get, not lucky, but everybody's got the equipment and the capability nowadays to take quality images that can be totally published. There's no question. There's lots of them out there. But I still think there's some value to a depth of a portfolio and value to experience if you want to be a tour leader. But I agree 100%. Mark's in a situation where he's able to flex and bend and change his approach like he's talked, and he's still able to make a living doing what he's doing. But I think it would be very difficult for somebody coming into this with no experience to try to build that experience and build the knowledge and build a portfolio and make a living doing it today. And I think that we are kind of underselling the impact that AI is going to have on things over the next few years. I think we're all in for a really rude awakening the more and more I hear about AI and how fast it's going to change our lives and things. Now, there's two sides of that. Nobody knows for sure, and it could, who knows, maybe it's all just scare tactics and it's not as big. But many, many, many of the key folks that are involved in creating AI are saying some crazy things about how fast that it will have an impact on all of our lives, like a significant impact. So, and of course, we can't be kidding ourselves that that's not going to affect the periodical world and the art world and the photography world and the video world. It's absolutely going to affect it. What that looks like and what that means, I don't know. It's kind of scary. Do you want to go into that world with that hanging out there? build a potential career and then all comes crashing down because of it. I don't know. So no fear mongering here. I think Ron's advice is sage. Chase it, make it your passion. If you happen to make some money doing it, put yourself in those positions to make money. And then if you do, great, but at least then you're not pressuring yourself to, do it, make money with your passion. Because when you start doing that too, we've talked about it before, it all of a sudden no longer is your passion. It becomes a job. And Mark, it's not the case. He's been able to keep it a job and a passion. And I think if it gets too tough, though, that things can, the pressures can make it not as enjoyable. So, anyways.
There's aspects to it, right? I mean, it's the
Right.
entire job. It's not just taking pictures. My favorite time is the field time, but the rest of it is everything from, marketing to accounting to everything a job has in store. I should this ring. But yeah, there's a lot to it. And, I've known very talented photographers over the duration of my career who just weren't into marketing, who could have had careers back in the day. But it's a variety of skill set. And the other thing is, for a lot of professionals, there's like a pie where there's, income streams from different types, different sources. There may be periodicals in North America, and there's global sales, and then there's all kinds of different applications for photography or photographers that, YouTube's another one that's popping up. Although it seems like you're better off to build a log cabin and tell the story than to be a photographer and tell the story on YouTube at this point in time. But yeah, AI, I mean, I see more products trying it, and I'm hoping it still looks a bit cartoonish. It's so easy to generate and interesting. But I mean, my heart is hoping that the periodicals and people in general will want to see the real thing that really happened and could hopefully always be able to tell the difference in the photo. But it's getting better and better. It will take a discerning eye to know that image is real. And who knows what that's going to.
Mark, just to add to that, I don't know if you guys have seen lately that what the new Topaz product has out that they're pushing. And it's a little bit infuriating to me. It's almost like, are you really supporting the photography community, or are you just trying to push a bunch of products?
Baby.
They don't care. They're just trying to sell stuff, right? But it's almost to the point where, like, I don't even know that I want to continue to support their products, because they are literally making a product that's called, I think it's called Bloom. And I think it's called Bloom. I'll have to confirm that. Okay. But the entire intention of the product is to take AI images and make them look more real.
I see.
So, I mean, that's out there as of today, right? And so those cartoony images, they're already able with programs and software to take that cartoony image and make it look more realistic with more detail, less cartoony look. Again, I don't know how well that's going to work, but it's just a matter of time until the AI images don't need that software anymore, and they're going to look so real that it doesn't matter.
It can be quick too with how it's developing. And a lot of our biggest sales were corporate over the years, right? Advertising images, product on product, point of sale displays, stuff like that were some of the bigger generating ones, because they, for the most part, stuck with wanting a unique image, not risking something they bought on a cheap stock site that could be elsewhere as well. So they paid a little more to photographers to have that. But AI, they can generate their own thing by putting in their own words, right? And I'm not trying to encourage anybody to do that. Real's better in my books, but yeah, who knows what that'll have an impact in the near future. So, on a positive note to finish, the best part, the absolute best part of all of this that we do about this podcast, about photography, about nature, is being there and getting out there and hearing it, smelling it, experiencing it. Photography allows us to capture some memories that on a special trip with our good friends, we have something that we will have visually to remember for the rest of our lives and to share. And, doing talks to any number of things, giving back, going and doing a talk at a retirement home or something, sharing these stories, that'll feed a person, right? And the experience does too. So despite all of the concerns about the professional side, what's still more important is what we experience in this amazing planet. I mean, you could spend a day listing the species that would move all of us to encounter and witness, observe, and experience. So keep that front and center, and help it have that help your life be more full with the experiences. And then, as Jason's done with the youth camp recently, give back when you have the opportunity. And, in a perfect world, that means more than money.
Well said.
Well, another fun listener question episode. And please keep them coming. Don't have to wait for the prompt on social media. Always happy to interact. And any feedback is welcome too.
Sorry, I know I'm cutting you right off, but I think I want to just throw this out there. There's a potential for us to have a special guest on in the future that's going to be focused on photography insurance. So I'm just getting this out there in the ether. We'll put it on social media as well. But if any of you have specific questions about insuring your photography equipment for either at your home or on trips or in the field or even internationally, we think we've found a solution and potential guests that can answer a lot of those questions. But we'd like to have those questions from you guys to make sure that we're prepared for that conversation. So please, if you have any of those, please send them in, DM us, any one of us, or send them in on the emails or whatever works best for you. DM us on the Beyond the Wild page, whatever works. But we'd like to get those from you if possible. So, sorry, Mark.
Fun. That's important. No, it's very interesting, and it's from what you've been sharing with us off show. It's intriguing to hear this, and I'm looking forward to the conversation myself. For those of you that might bump into Ron Hayes in the field later this summer or fall, it doesn't have to be a $50 bill. It could be 2 20s and a 10 or a whole bunch of 5s, but he's going to have these hoodies. So,
well, if it's the one he's wearing, it's going to need 5 20s.
No, I'm willing to change.
Oh,
I can change, put on a different size real quick, and then we can just pass them off. Then they'll be field worn, not podcast worn.
That's another level yet.
That's another level. A whole other level.
We appreciate your interest and support. And for all of you that have been asking all along this fun ride, thank you for your patience and persistence. And we're getting on to it regarding the merch, and Ron has some in hand. So keep an eye out for this handsome guy in the field. We'll see you again next week.
And that's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, Pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA.